Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to another segment of Saaz Awaz. My name is Abdul Majid. Anybody who doesn't know me, but everybody knows Shazia. Shazia Malik, everybody knows that, so I don't have to introduce her. First of all, I want to thank Shazia. She worked day and night to put this together. And I'd like to thank all the candidates from Toronto to Brampton, Oakville, and Mississauga. Whoever showed up here, this is a good chance for them to come and talk to the voters. People who didn't show up, well, too bad. Maybe you didn't have anything much to say about it. The format is going to be that we're going to ask the candidates one by one to come on over to the podium, and we'll give them 5 to 7 minutes to speak, and after that Shazia and I and all the people who are sitting in our audience, they can ask questions if they would like to. I'll give the mic to Shazia now.
Thank you very much, Majid Saab. You have really said some very kind words about me. I'm extremely thankful to all the mayoral candidates who have come here. We know that our cities now require change. The region requires a change. All the incumbents who have been in this position for a long time, people still have a lot of complaints. And in fact, we sent them also the invites, and they said that they had prior commitments. But I'm really thankful to all who are here. It will give us a chance to listen to your views and the vision, and it will give a very good idea to the people before they vote. We still are just about a few days away. Elections are on October 22nd, so people will get a chance to know what the new ones who are aspirants who are here now, how and what they will bring to the table. Now, to start with, I would like Mr. John Strawberry, please come here, because we are living in Brampton and we are facing several problems, including very, very high insurance. So I'll be very grateful if you please give us your vision about the city. Thank you.
Thank you for putting this together and for providing the people an opportunity to listen to us and who we are, what we stand for, what we look like. A lot of people don't get to see us. Brampton, as you know, is a huge city now. We officially tagged as 600,000 residents, but I believe we have about 100,000 living unregistered. So we probably have around 700,000 people who live in basement apartments that are not registered in any way. So just roughly, I'm a councillor. My title is Regional Council for Ward 9 and 10, which is Springdale, Castlemore, and Gore communities. And I've been representing the area for the last 30 years as a councillor, and I also worked at Ford Motor Company for 36 years. So you can imagine how old I am when you add it up. But actually 12 years I was doing both city and Ford, because at one time Brampton Council was part-time. We used to have 17 members, and we actually cut it down to 11 and made it back in 2000 and made it to a full-time council. So my plan was to retire at the end of this term. I've been, actually for the last 8 years, I've been promising my wife that I would retire and have some quality time together. As most people know, politicians are always going here, going there, going everywhere, and there's hardly much time for family life. And so under a lot of duress, I decided to run again, not as a regional council, but for mayor. And the reason I decided to run for mayor is because things have not been going very well in Brampton for the last number of years. We've had some very poor leadership, and it's caused a lot of problems in Brampton. We had, when Susan Fennell was the mayor, we had probably the biggest fraud that's probably going to come out in the news in the next month or two about this lawsuit about a City Hall expansion that's costing the City of Brampton taxpayers about $100 million more than it should have. $100 million. We're not talking about $1 million or 10 or 50, $100 million more. The project should have been costing the city about $105 million, and that's what it's going to cost us $205 million over 25 years. It's a lease-to-own project. We're paying 7.2% on a project that was supposed to cost 94 million. Now we owe 131 million at 7.2%. We could have got that same loan for 3.5% if we had gone with the normal process. But unfortunately, we were blindsided by our administration, and we end up with this huge problem. And now we have a $28.5 million lawsuit because one of the contractors who had actually a better proposal was disqualified because I believe it was all predetermined who was going to get the contract. So now, this happened in 2014. There was an election, and Susan Fennell was ousted with a huge majority. And Linda Jeffrey came in. She was a minister at the province. She served as a provincial minister in 3 ministries, and she became the mayor. With we all had huge expectations that she was going to solve all our problems. Like hospital, we have the worst hospital waiting time in the province. We have the longest, the least number of rooms per capita. And we have this car insurance problem where the NDP member of parliament, Jagmeet Singh, tried to fix it. It's a provincial responsibility. And Linda was a minister at the time, and she did totally nothing to help Jagmeet. That he was an NDP member, and she's a liberal, and so I guess she wanted help to fix the problem because he would get the credit. So we have this problem with the highest car insurance. Then we also have a problem with rapid transit. The province funded many cities and provided about $1 billion to Ottawa, Kitchener, Hamilton, Oshawa, Mississauga. Gave them all $1 billion to provide an LRT in their cities. They were offering us $400 million in Brampton. And we need the LRT or BRT to go on Queen Street to bring people connect to Toronto, where a lot of people from Brampton work in Toronto. They all head down to 427 every morning. It's a parking lot. At night, it's a parking lot coming home. And so we have this problem with our mayor was satisfied in putting an LRT on Main Street and not on Queen Street. So these issues really are very serious problems, and they need resolving. And now, why am I running for mayor? It's because, first of all, I tried to uncover this fraud that happened with the City Hall expansion to ask for an investigation. And the mayor, she blocked my efforts. Instead of bringing in a procurement expert to investigate, she said, well, let's bring in the ombudsman from the Queen's Park, it will cost us nothing. Then it turned out that she told them that don't investigate the City Hall issue because it's under a lawsuit. Meanwhile, all the top bureaucrats, commissioners, at that time they were called chiefs, I think there were 6 of them, they all were involved in this fraud, and they were all let go, and they all got like 2 years severance, at least 2 years, and they were all making over $200,000 a year. And so they got a golden handshake and walked away, where they should have been charged for fraud or well, to me it was a fraud. We were defrauded, and there should have been a proper investigation. And our mayor, she blocked that effort. So that really is the reason why I'm running, because I want to make sure that there is an investigation to hold the people accountable and responsible, and also to address the issue of the LRT or the BRT on Main Street versus Queen Street, and the car insurance. It's a provincial responsibility, and we want to get now. The problem with is that Brampton has a lot of accidents. Well, you know, the province doesn't realize that Brampton is a throughway from people from the north, from the east, from the west. They're all coming through Brampton. They're creating this chaotic traffic, and they're penalizing Brampton residents only with higher insurance. Everybody, all the people coming to Brampton should be also be paying the cost. And the province doesn't recognize that a lot of the problem is caused by the accidents the congestion is caused by people driving through Brampton, whether they from Caledon, from Orangeville, from Shelburne, or whether they're coming from Vaughan, or they're coming from Georgetown, they're coming through Brampton. And so the province has to be realized that we have a problem, and they have to help us fix it. So anyway, I know my time's up. But, so this is the reason I'm running for mayor, and I'm running on my 30 years of experience. I've been the most honest councillor. I have never been accused of any wrongdoing. I've been the most accessible councillor. People love me. For 30 years, I've been representing a very multicultural community of about 150,000 residents living in Ward 9 and 10, and 70% are new immigrants that have come to Brampton. So I've been well received and well liked, and so I'm running on my experience, my accessibility, my honesty, and that's why I'm giving the people of Brampton another choice than what we have today. Thank you.
You mentioned about, John, transit. What is your plan for transit?
My transit is that immediately we need to put a BRT or an LRT on Queen Street to connect us to the Vaughan subway, where our students go to York University, they go to Toronto University, to George Brown College, and it takes them 3 hours to get to school and to come home with the transit system we have today in Brampton. We need a BRT, it's a new way to go now. It's 1/3 the cost of an LRT. It's a dedicated lane. We have the space on Queen Street. It's very wide, with dedicated lanes with electric buses, so we can get the people downtown Toronto, whether they go to work or go to school, and that's the first priority. The second priority is to make sure we have Hill Memorial gets an emergency department. Right now, the people have to wait 10 to 12 hours before they can see the Brampton Civic. And we have Hill Memorial that shuts its doors at night. It's a beautiful new healthcare facility, and at night the rooms are empty. So this I'll be going up to Doug Ford to make sure that we get the proper service in the hospital.
Short and sweet, I know your time is up, very short and sweet when it comes to policing. I've heard a lot of problems between police department and the mayoral office. How would you like to fix it?
Well, the police are responsible for our safety. That's their mandate. The council or the police board must provide the proper tools and the proper funding and resources. The police say that after this ability to investigate street checks has caused the crime to skyrocket. The problem is that our mayor, Jeffrey, and Bonnie Crombie were instrumental in getting the province to change the law to stop the police from investigating suspicious people on the streets. And they did not give them a new tool in order to do their job. So Chief Evans, she's so frustrated about for this tool being taken away and not given a new tool, that she's leaving the police force. In January she's leaving because she's so frustrated because she can't do the job. And the crime is just, we hear every day, every week there's shootings and stabbings, and there's a huge increase. I think that from last year there was a 16% increase over last year. So we need to, if I become the mayor of Brampton and I'm setting a police service forward, I will ask the police, what do you need? What do you need to do your job to protect us, to prevent crime? And they're the experts, and they have to tell us what they need, and I'll be supporting their, whatever they want, I'll be supporting.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate it. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we have another candidate from Brampton, who is Mr. Thank you. So now we have the clear picture about what's going on in Brampton. Thank you for your comments, sir. So, but these really are the issues. You spoke very well, and we are very happy that you are touching on all those issues. We have another candidate from Brampton, and this is Mr. Mansoor Amir Sultan.
Assalamu alaikum, Sasika, Namaste, Vanakkam. Thank you for the Eawaz radio and TV for this opportunity which it is extended for me. My name is Mansoor Amir Sultan. I have been in Canada from 2003. Initially, I moved to Toronto until 2007. After 2007, I look in GTA and find a place to better living in Brampton. I select. I moved with my family 2007 to Brampton. I am living in Brampton. Basically, I am from mechanical background. I am a mechanical engineer and installation of fire protection system installation. After I come here, because my qualification is not one, because here is system is different. They are combined with electrical and electronics, so I change my profession in some other field. Then I just do my own business. I am entrepreneur in Brampton. So last 11 years, I know what's going on here in Brampton, and especially from 2014, the platform, the mayoral election platform, the candidates, they told many things. They talk about property tax and the healthcare system, youth involvement, traffic congestion, university, and much more. But 2018, after 4 years, nothing has been changed in Brampton. They are talking the same. All they are talking the same. We need for property tax wanted to be reduced or wanted to be freeze, or the healthcare system is not improved, and many things it's the same. So the 4 years we failed. They are bringing the vision 2040, but what is 2040? It is cannot come in 2040 January 1. They are coming out. They will see everything will be changed. It is not possible. They wanted to be do from today and tomorrow. Then only we can reach at 2040 what the imagination, what we need. But totally it is a different. Last 4 years, in my view, the city is asleep. There is nothing. When the election is announced in 2018, they are going and they brought the university already and showing the place. It is a parking lot. Here the university is going to build. But nothing started, nothing happened. But it's not a place for to bring the university in a parking lot. So there is no improvement. Once it is open, the university, after that it's only for, it's going to be office. That's all. The university doesn't want the place in the center of city. It's right, but the city should be designed where we need the university, where we can bring it to the people, how the students will come, how their accommodation, and especially the foreign students. The Canada is bringing much income from the foreign students. The university and the college is different. There are some issues in Brampton. The college students have making the violence and this all. But university is a different, college is a different. Because the university who is coming from the foreign, that means the other country, they are paying for 2 years full fees and they are paying 2 full year accommodation fees and everything. But college is not like. So there is a difference. So we can welcome the foreign students to the Brampton and we can give the very good facility because it is bringing the economic to the city. Another thing, property tax. It is very high. Property tax is very high. But the people want to be reduced. But it is not possible immediately. If I elected as a mayor, I will freeze the property tax immediately. It is not further increase. But after that, we will bring economical growth in the city. Then we will try to reduce or something. But in this moment, I cannot make any assurance that I will reduce the property tax. It is not possible. And the healthcare system is very worst in Brampton because we have more than 600,000 populations and we have only one full-time hospital and one part-time hospital. It is not enough. The people are going to the hospital and stay for 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. Then after that, are directed to go to your family doctor. Family doctor is very less in Brampton. It's also waiting time for 15 days, 10 days, 5 days, 6 days. If it is emergency, they say go to the emergency. But what happened in emergency? So we need improve in the healthcare system. We need one more hospital immediately. Whether it is good to select for Eastern, but second choice is the Western. Because we have in the center area, we have Orange Hospital, and we can go for emergency in the Etopic Hospital. So we need for Eastern, Western for the hospitals. And then I received a call from one citizen. He says 405 pounds he is weight, but he don't have back. He don't have wheelchair in the hospital. He asks the customer care, they say no funding. But it is no need for $1 million to make for wheelchair and bag. It is a couple of $1,000, but there is no action. Still it is waiting for funding. The youth involvement, so the crime rates are increasing, of course, in Brampton. But the thing is, we wanted to bring our youth in the right way. We need more workshop and the parents to take care of their children. And they wanted to be know the things, and we wanted to be give the involvement in the community, involvement in sports, and involvement in the even the leadership roles. So they will have more responsibility than also the same time we can assign police officers, the frontline officers, to handle only in the crime and situation. But now the situation, the expert police officer directed to for construction site and traffic, but it is not. Only wanted to be put some special officers to handle these crimes from beginning and wanted to be young. That's the system will be work finally. Then the traffic congestion, it is a very vast. So in my idea, the immediate step, I will call the transport owners, the lodge, the trailer companies, trailer transport, goods transport owners, and I'll ask them to stop for 1 or 2 hours per day, which it is very congested in the morning and evening important. It will be work for ease little bit traffic, but same time we wanted to be try to get funding for to make one more highway and improve our road system. Some places, if it is, we can go for front. Finally, the university wanted to be improved, and these 4 years, nothing has done in the Brampton, so we need to be start immediately because we have only for only limited land, limited space. Only we have 2,000 acres now. If we turn into the residential, after that we cannot bring any jobs. We immediately need to get jobs because our ratio is 79 in residential and 21 in employment. So we wanted to be 79 in residential, 21 in industrial. We wanted to make at least 60-40 because Brampton have every facility, airport and a railway system and everything. This is immediate step. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mansoor, and you can stay there for a second. We talked about hospitals, workshop, highways, and them, but on the other hand, you talked about property tax freeze. Where are you going to get the money if you freeze the property taxes?
For the immediate freezing the property tax means there is money already what we are getting from the city, what the income already, it is coming. It's not going to be reduced, it's freezing. The same time, there are thousands of residential is building now. That will be covered little bit, the facilities. Thousands of residential houses are building. When it is coming to use, we will get some millions of dollars to do that. But I am not going to say that reduce, I am going to be freeze. So the other money will be can use for some other purposes.
And the hospital?
The hospital is mainly it is the funding from provincial because we cannot spend for a lot for the hospital. We will try to get the funding from the provincial. It is they should take care of the city healthcare system. Because hospital, what we have the funding it is little bit because the municipal it is not a concern directly for funding to the hospitals. It is the provincial is the main issue, and we can get it from the provincial because once you bring the transparency to the people knows what's going on in the city. Then the federal or provincial they need MPPs and MPs from the city. They cannot able to reject. They have to win again. So we can strive and get it. That's no problem.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mansoor, but we just did a brilliant job of saying no to millions of dollars that were coming in the city for LRT. So I don't know how these decisions are made and how. I personally interviewed the finance minister and he said that the federal government has the funds, but it is the provinces who have to request or the cities who have to request to get that money to get their things running. So if the cities are not really interested in getting them, then federal government will not really, I mean, of course,
Of course, it is the fault of the city. Because they wanted to be make a reroute or they wanted to be bring some other project how to handle this, they will consider. But they are not interested. They say it is they are not really interested bring. If it is interested, they will make some other adequate arrangements and they will bring it. But now it is gone. Now we have to be go again with the other plan and we have to be start from beginning now.
Thank you very much, sir, for your comments. Thanks. In Toronto, the mayoral race is really getting very hot, and we have some brilliant aspirants over here. So we are going to hear from them how they can change things that are going on in Toronto, especially the crime rate that has really been skyrocketing. So may I please request Mr. Nia Singh to come over and present his views and his vision about the city.
Thank you.
Tak.
Assalamu alaikum, namaste, wa alaikum, and kia alha. My name is Nia Singh, and I'm born in Toronto, raised in Toronto, to parents of Guyanese and Bermudian heritage. My full name is George Bajrang Roop Singh, and it confuses people sometimes when they see me. They're expecting someone who is fully Indian, but I am half Indian, half African descent. I'm running for mayor of Toronto because it's time that our city gets someone who understands diversity. Somebody who understands all cultures and all social classes. And currently we have a city that is made up of over 51% people from other cultures, immigrants. And I do have to pay homage and respect to the indigenous people of this land, the Mississaugas of the New Credit and the Haudenosaunee, whose land we share. My platform focuses on violence in the city, and I released a 10-point plan to address it. And I can tell you the first point of my 10-point plan, because of my experience as a criminal defense lawyer and a human rights advocate, is that the city must stop all school suspensions and expulsions. We find that too many of the young people in the city of Toronto are being suspended and expelled from schools. And where does that leave them? That leaves them without something to do during the day. It leaves them to consult with their other friends who have been suspended, and petty crimes turn into more serious crimes, which then eventually leads to violence. And that is what we're seeing in the city. What we have to do is prevention. Prevention is much better than cure. And as much as we have $1 billion budget for policing in Toronto. We have a very good police force in Toronto that is equipped with all the tools that they do need. What we do not have is enough addressing poverty and education. And we will never get rid of violence in the city of Toronto if we keep doing band-aid solutions after the fact. The city of Toronto just approved a $4 million budget for shot spotter technology, which identifies the sound of a gunshot after it happened. What sense does that make? We will have somebody dead on the street, and then we can find out where they were shot. We are supposed to be getting ahead of this problem and preventing them from getting shot. And what we have to do is understand that young people they feel they have nothing to lose. So if a person is out of school, cannot get employed, lives in a neighborhood infested by crime, they think, I have nothing going for me. There's no hope for me. So I might as well rob this person. I might as well shoot this person. And these are the things that are missing. So in conjunction with my 10-point plan, which you can find at niasing2018.ca, that's K-N-I-A Sing 2018.ca, is that we have to provide conflict resolution for youth in distress. And I can tell you, particularly in the Jane and Finch area, there is neighborhood rivalries between people that live hundreds of meters away. Whether you're in Driftwood or Shoreham, people will fight, shoot, and kill you based on your neighborhood. We have to bring those communities together and speak to those young people and identify, why are you doing this? And they'll start to think about it and realize, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Another thing, we have to invest and ask our top 500 employers in the city to provide jobs for those people who have minor criminal records. Right now, if you have a criminal record, you will not get employed. And we have to understand that if you've paid your debt to society, there is no reason to prevent you for the rest of your life from having an opportunity to getting ahead. I know a lot of people who have made mistakes in the past, but now they're contributing members of society. And what our city is doing right now is eliminating those people from contention. There are many other issues in regards to my 10-point plan. I don't want to go through them all because there's many other issues I want to discuss. But I do have to raise the issue of carding. A mayoral candidate just raised it, and I want to clarify that carding is not the stopping and questioning of people who are under suspicion. Carding is the stopping of people who are totally innocent, who are not involved in a crime, who have not been reported or suspected of a crime, and are stopped based on the color of their skin. And in 2013, the Toronto Star revealed that black and brown people are disproportionately stopped more than any other member of society in the city of Toronto and the GTA. And as long as we keep targeting people and criminalizing their behavior for just existing, we will not have solutions. Particularly, the correlation between the rise, the ending of crime and the rise of violence is non-existent. In 2005, when there were hundreds of thousands of cards being levied upon people, the murders were 86 murders in Toronto, with over 50 of them being by gun. Today, we're seeing the same similar trend, but it's not because carding has stopped, because we've seen those same numbers previously 13 years earlier. The reason why violence is increasing in the city is because of poverty, education, disenfranchisement, marginalization. If I were elected mayor of the city of Toronto, I could present a new vision of what it is to be a colored person. Somebody who is born and raised in Toronto, Canadian citizen, but have immigrant parents, like most people aside from Indigenous people do. We are all immigrants to the city. But what it will do is show young people that they can aspire to something greater than what they're used to. There's a very limited role that they play in society, which is you can be a drug dealer, you can be an entertainer, or you can be in sports. No one ever says you can be a lawyer or a doctor. I ran a recording studio for 20 years, since 1993. I was an entrepreneur at the age of 19. But over the time, seeing the revolving door with the youth I was helping, falling back into the same patterns, I realized I have to dedicate myself to something larger. In 1997, I ran for city council, 21 years ago. And that's when the city was amalgamating, and I knew that there would be an issue with resources. Today, we are facing the same problem. 21 years later, Doug Ford and his provincial government has eliminated half the councillors in the city of Toronto. How are each of those councillors going to serve the needs of 150,000 people? It's going to be nearly impossible. So we need someone who understands what it is to be of low income, understands what the disenfranchised neighborhoods are going through, but also understands what the academics and business professionals need and require. Because I've lived my life through all those patterns. And I really want to make sure that our city is represented on a global scale. We are an international city. And the city of Mississauga, and the city of Brampton, and Ajax, and York Region, all of them are part of the GTA. So what happens in Toronto affects all the regions. And us as an international GTA, with so much diversity, we need to start reflecting that diversity in our politics, and we need to put humanity above politics. I find right now politicians and the councils are so focused on the bottom line. How are we going to save money? How are we going to save money? But they're never saying, how are we going to improve the quality of life for our residents? Quality of life is one of the most important things. That is what we all work for. All of the money in our bank account is to improve the quality of life for our children, for ourselves. And that's what has to be put first.
Really appreciate it, and I'm getting inspired of listening to you, and you are a great gentleman, and you speak well. Two quick questions the way I ask everybody else, and John and Mansoor, I'm going to give you a chance for 2 minutes to answer this question too. I didn't ask you, I'm sorry about that, because in a couple of days, cannabis is getting official.
Yes.
Everybody can use it, right?
Yes.
Where do you stand about cannabis? And all the candidates, I'm going to ask you about cannabis. I'll give you a chance for 2 minutes to tell me about cannabis.
Okay. What I have to say about cannabis is the hysteria coming around legalization. We all really have to take a step back and take a look. People have been using cannabis since it's been growing in the ground, which is the existence of humankind. In Toronto, people use cannabis regularly. The fact that people will no longer be arrested and given criminal records for possession of cannabis, that is a victory for all of society. My concerns are, yes, smoking cannabis and driving. No one should drive impaired. But we also have to realize the impairment by alcohol is greatly different than the impairment by cannabis. And until we start researching those things, we cannot think that if somebody smokes, they're going to act the same way a person who drinks acts. And I can tell you, cigarettes and alcohol should be our main concern over cannabis at this point. If we're going to look at drugs that are available, cigarettes alone and alcohol alone cause so many deaths, millions of deaths per year. And we don't know any reported causes of one cannabis death really. You have drinking and driving with alcohol. You have home abuse, child abuse, sex abuse, physical abuse, just based on drinking. Bar fights. These are all things that are known. Lung cancer, emphysema. Those are our concerns. So when cannabis becomes illegal, I do have another concern when smoking in public. Right now, the provincial government says you can smoke it wherever cigarettes are smoked. That is going to cause some problems for people walking by, having to be around that. But I really want to say that up until now, people are using cannabis very regularly. Your doctor, your lawyer, your teacher, they all smoke cannabis. And the world hasn't fallen apart because of it. So we should really just applaud the government on the path to making drugs non-criminalized, because people with addiction issues, and I'm talking about the more serious drugs such as crack cocaine, heroin, opioids, prescription drugs, we have to get to a path where we decriminalize them so people who are suffering no longer, we can address their needs to solve.
Quickly, you got 1 minute to talk about Gardner Expressway. What is your plan for Gardner Expressway?
It is not to tear it down. I think maintaining the Gardner Expressway is such a convenient way for the residents of Brampton, Mississauga, and people coming from the airport to enter the city. Once we tear that down, could you imagine the amount of chaos it's going to create when those lanes are shut down? And all the traffic will have to be diverted, and it won't be on an expressway, it'll be on regular roads. If we think we have a congestion problem in Toronto and the GTA right now, if we start touching that Gardner Expressway, it's going to be way worse. What I can say is I'd like to propose that we start re-implementing the HOV lanes that we had during the Pan Am Games, because the Don Valley Parkway and the Gardner Expressway can be used in a much more efficient manner with multiple people in vehicles instead of having one person in each car. So maintain the Gardner, rehabilitate it, and implement HOV lanes.
Thank you very much for your comments, sir. That was really great. But just one correction I wanted to make. You just said in your speech that perhaps the Mayor John Tory is trying to, reduce the size of the council. It's not Mr. John Tory. It's the Premier, Mr.
Yes,
Doug Ford.
if I said Tory, I misspoke. It's definitely Doug Ford.
Doug Ford, yeah. Doug Ford wants to do that. Thank you very much, sir, for your
Thank you.
comments. Thank you. It's really inspiring. So next we would like to call Mr. John McLaughlin. He has been extremely kind. He called me himself twice saying that he will be coming all the way from Oakville to present his point of view, and we are really grateful that he's here with us.
Well, thank you. Thank you to the Haverly Group. I thought it was a crank call, by the way, when you first called me. So I had to call back just to make sure it was genuine, and it was very genuine. And I must say, everyone is so eloquent here. The candidates for office, they devote a lot of their personal time to run for office, but not everyone's aware of that. It's a huge commitment, and they're volunteers as well. And that is something that's very nice to see. That's democracy in action. Now, I'm going to talk about Oakville in a minute, and no, it's not just another suburb of Toronto. Some people think it is a little wonderland where everything is wonderful. That's what the current mayor says. He says, we're number one, everything's wonderful, we have no problems. Of course, that is not correct. That's why we hold the election, and that's why I'm here, and that's why there is opposition. $1,230,000 every day is what the town of Oakville spends, since this morning till tonight. And tomorrow they will spend another $1,230,000. That may not sound like a lot. Oakville has a population of about 200,000, but its spending has grown. It's unsustainable. The current mayor took office in 2006. Spending was $540,000 a day, $197 million capital and operating budget. From 2006 to 2018, it's now $449 million. That's not sustainable. Oakville residents and their children will be paying for that for generations. That's only one theme. I think what we all have in common in the room are municipal issues like fiscal sustainability, transit, congestion, crime. There's also mental health. There are a lot of social issues as well. In Oakville, what I've done is I have the unpleasant task of pointing out the problems. $366 million in hidden debt, yet the town's financial statements only show $119 million. They've hidden it on. We're in a two-tier municipality with an upper tier in Halton and then lower tiers, Oakville, Milton, Halton Hills, and Burlington. It's hidden, Oakville's debt, on all these other balance sheets, including the local utility. Our taxes have risen 65% since the mayor took office in 2006. It's unsustainable. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you about the solutions. I'm going to take that bloated spending, that $449 million, I'm going to reduce it 10% just by getting rid of the waste. We'll let people retire, we'll look for efficiencies, not one single job loss. 10% reduction of $449 million, no more tax increases. I've just removed the tax increases. Immediately. No programs are lost. Now we have a sustainable future. That's why we run for office. And the voters are going to make that choice at the ballot box. I want them to make informed choices, know what the issues are, and they will decide. They will decide on October 22nd. And I'm hearing that they're going to send the current mayor into an early retirement. I don't think he knows it, but there's a surprise party on October 22nd. Everyone in town's invited, and we're all going to cheer when he leaves. And we have new direction, new leadership, and new ideas. And of course, I'm hoping that enough residents will vote for me as well. I'm a qualified candidate to be mayor. You have to have a vision to see the problems, analyze them, and offer sustainable solutions. That's what I do. Now I'll just tell you about some of the other issues in Oakville, so you're aware of them. Affordability. Does that sound familiar in this room? My property taxes are almost $10,000 a year for our modest house in Oakville. And some of my neighbors pay more. I even asked Justin Trudeau this question, but he hasn't answered yet. And I said, how is this aging demographic in Canada and in Oakville, how is this aging population going to pay for these outrageous property taxes, which will be going up like this forever? I'm going to stop it. But how is an aging population going to afford that on paltry pensions like CPP, OAS, maybe if you don't have enough money, you'll get the GIS supplement. You won't be able to. I asked Justin Trudeau that question, the Prime Minister. I'm still waiting for the response. I'll check my Twitter. Maybe he's answered while I'm speaking. The point is, this is not sustainable, whether you're in Toronto, Brampton, Burlington, Oakville, or any of the 444 municipalities. I think there still are in Ontario. These are issues of concern to all voters. I'm going to address them, offer solutions. We're going to overcome it. Oakville, I'm going to burst that little bubble first, then we're going to look at the real problems. Poverty. Do you know there's poverty in affluent Oakville? This Money Sense magazine said Oakville was the #1 place to live in Canada. And the mayor runs around town and the councillors in the newspaper holding their #1 sign up with their fingers saying, we're #1, don't worry, everything's great. That magazine, Money Sense, didn't even include Toronto, Calgary, or Vancouver in the top 10. Yet in the world, Toronto, Calgary, and Vancouver were all in the top 10 by a more noted magazine like The Economist. I don't think a magazine determines what's going to happen. The voters are going to determine that. That's the only poll that matters. If they think that we can do better and I can deliver with my fiscal sustainability, electric buses on transit. We have no electric buses in Oakville. How come? I have an electric car. I almost ran out of power getting here, but I have an electric car. No charging stations in Oakville. That's going to change with me. First week in office, we're going to have 3 charging stations. We're going to think about the future. Electric buses cost less. You save about $200,000 a bus over a 12-year life. No pollution. I care about the environment as well. There are lots of other things. Fire safety. We have response time failings in Oakville. The fire service isn't getting to the calls quick enough. Do you know you can be dead in your bed in 3 minutes? A flashover can occur quickly. If the fire service isn't getting there till 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 minutes, you have to rescue yourself. That's why fire prevention, working alarms, and education is so important. I'll solve that. The current mayor and council have swept it under the rug. The current fire chief won't even answer my calls. Here's how I'll solve it. We're going to get a mobile unit in Oakville that roams around 24 hours a day, fully staffed, with water. That will cut 3 minutes of a response time out. We're going to get training. And do you know what they do in Oakville before they get a call? I'll just tell you this. They pull out these big maps. Do you remember Magellan from 1522 when they sailed around the world? They used these maps. That's what Oakville does. I'll get Magellan GPS right in the truck. It's 2018. We're going to make changes. We're going to cut red tape, 10%. Too many regulations, too many applications, too many permits. Pot. You guys want to ask me a question about pot? You want me to save that?
Yeah.
I have a position.
No, you can say it.
Cannabis, sorry, cannabis.
They are paying me to ask you questions.
Yeah.
You know what's
You can ask me that question. My position is, look, one of the other candidates mentioned, the feds have legalized it. You can grow it. I think up to 4 plants in most provinces. It's shared, provincial and federal responsibility. You can smoke it, possess it. Ontario will have it online, available in a few days. And my position is, well, it's been legalized. I don't want it to go underground. I don't want crime. I don't want health risk. I'm in favor of opting in Oakville. Maybe 3 stores throughout Oakville. This is not reefer madness. This isn't 1950. The mayor and council are stoking up people's emotions. Oh, pot's bad. And the other big so-called phony issue in Oakville is Glen Abbey Golf Course. The mayor has said that's the only issue in the election. No, it's not. I just named them. Poverty, social matters, sustainability, green space, transit, code of conduct complaints. We can't complain about our politicians. Do you remember the Toronto leasing computer scandal that led to all those amendments to the Municipal Act? Toronto has its own act, I think the 2006 Act. We can't complain. I tried to do it in 2014 and the council shut it down and they pre-screened it. Justice Bellamy did a judicial inquiry following the Toronto leasing computer scandal. She made a lot of, I think, 241 recommendations on ethics, governance, procurement. Not in Oakville. They threw that away and they said, no, we're going to decide. We're going to be judge, jury, executioner. I'm going to immediately eliminate that. Every resident has a right to complain and expect the public officials to be accountable, to act with the highest integrity, and to act in their best interests, which they're supposed to under the Municipal Act. That's what this election is about. It's about people.
John, thank you so much. I
Thank you.
really appreciate it, and I'll give you extra 2 minutes because you were in the process of saying a few things, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, and I wish you all the best.
Wonderful. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Yes?
No.
Oh, no questions. I didn't even get to talk about mental health.
Oh.
That's great.
Okay, John. Okay, I'll give you a minute to talk about mental health.
Mental health is also it's a problem in our community. It's not discussed. It's swept under the rug. And I saw a young man standing on a bridge just a little while ago. I was actually going to an event, a photo shoot. I was probably wearing a suit and tie, I think. And I had to stop. And I was late. When I came, all the cameras and the people, where were you? Where were you? And I just said, look, I stopped to talk to someone. And this young man was very pensive, and obviously something was wrong. And I pulled up beside him, rolled the window down, and I said, hi. I said, is everything okay today? And then he looked up at me and he said, who are you? Now in the back of my car I had 3 or 4 giant Vote for John McLaughlin posters, and then he quickly understood. There's one in the back of the room there, if you want to look at that one. It's very, very nice. And we had a little chat, and I told him there's hope for the future, and invest in yourself. Do you know how many people don't invest in themselves? You are your greatest asset, your ideas. Bring them forward. They're welcome. Some of the other candidates talked about diversity. I'm talking about diversity not just with people, also with ideas. Everyone has a voice in Canada. Everyone's welcome in Oakville, and Oakville is open for business. And on October 22nd, we're going to have a fun time. Everyone's going to see, wow, why didn't we do this sooner? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes. You have just said it rightly. Mental health issues are great, but we are, unfortunately, the province is just cutting on the, all the health care. So that's really sad. I would like to call upon Mr. Mia Amir. He has come all the way from Milton. We are extremely thankful to him, and we would like to hear his, views as if he becomes the mayor, what he brings to the table.
My name is Mian Amir Naeem. I've been living in Milton for the last 10 years. I have 15 years of executive experience leading flagship projects of organizations such as IBM Canada, Royal Bank of Canada, TD Bank, Bank of Montreal, Hudson's Bay Company, so on and so forth. What I bring to the table. My top 3 priorities are to bring large businesses in Milton, especially the knowledge-based industry. 62% of Miltonians, they work in knowledge-based industry, but they have to go out of Milton to work. Because these industries are not in Milton. 62% of Miltonian, and this is coming from the town hall. I work in that industry. I precisely understand what is preventing them to go to Milton. I've been talking to those executives who were part of the move which Hazel McCallion, when the large businesses came to Mississauga, they were part of those moves. And they're telling me this is our transportation policy. Our transportation policy is designed to take people out of Milton, not to bring people into Milton. There are 10 trains, GO trains in the morning, they go to downtown Toronto, and same set of trains come back in the evenings back to Milton. So our workforce is working somewhere else, and we are missing out on millions of dollars of billable. And one of the top priorities is to bring large businesses, especially the knowledge-based industry, back to Milton. The second one is the redesigning of transportation policy. As I said that, the GO train station, it's going one way, and then the evening, the same set of trains coming back. We had engaged Metrolinx on that, but it is work in progress. It will take some time, but at the same interim solution will have inter-town and inter-regional connection through buses. And once I am elected, I will be focusing on those things, so we can have a transportation policy which can bring people into Milton rather than just going one way. And I will be putting the corrective actions in place to bring much needed infrastructure up to the mark. Currently, our kids are sitting in portable in schools. You go to school, you will find their portables, and our kids are sitting there. 12 years back, we had the same policy. We had created subdivision after subdivision. We had KPIs, we have data at our disposal. We anticipated certain number of growth. We grew more than that. We grew at the rate of multitude. We should change the KPIs there within the town hall, so we can plan effectively going forward. Yes, I understand there is an involvement of the provincial government there, but whatever we could do within the town hall, we should do, and we see there is some lacking on that side. My vision is to transform Milton into future-ready smart town. To begin with, I will be putting the right governance model in place using modern tools and methodologies. Currently, our IT department itself is outsourced. other towns around the area, they are already having a head start. For instance, Cambridge, they have IBM Watson in place. We don't have the in-house infrastructure, if you want to call it, but platform, in-house platform not in place. So I will be putting that in place. Under my leadership, each and every department will be held accountable for the work they do. You will see visibility, competency, and accountability. Ladies and gentlemen, together, let's transform Milton into new reality, into a better reality, into a place of possibility in true sense for our next generation. Thank you.
Very well said. I really appreciate you coming over here. I'm Saaz from Milton. What other things do you think in Milton beside like every region have hospitals? You're talking about transit. You're talking about crimes. You're talking about drugs. Where do you stand on drugs and policing there in Milton?
So when you're talking about drugs, are you talking about from
I'm not talking about cannabis. Not right. The cannabis is the next question.
The next question, okay. So in crimes context, your question is?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, Halton region is actually one of the best places in Canada to live in. Current region, they claim that our crime rate is going actually down instead of going up. Having said that, we have population coming in. In last 10, 15 years, you'll see Milton grew at the rate of multitude. In last 8 years, they claim it was the fastest growing town in Canada. Having said that, we have some crime coming in. With the population that comes, it's more apparent now as compared to it was 10, 20 years back. And the nature of crime itself is more sophisticated now. You see them receiving call from CRA, they're asking for data, and it's across the spectrum. Criminals are becoming more sophisticated. Crimes are becoming more sophisticated. My vision for Milton is to make it future-ready smart town. That means our law enforcement agencies, we will be providing them tools to cope with this sophisticated crimes. We'll train them and we will provide them workforce that can also cope with it. Maybe more presence of police within the town of Milton. So I will be exploring those options. I hope I answered.
And again, the last question about cannabis. Where do you stand on cannabis?
Morally, looking at the next generation, I'm against it. Pragmatically, I know it is inevitable. Even if we stop in Milton, what is preventing our youth to go to neighboring towns and get it? So we might as well put it in place, but we put corrective actions in place. We put some controls there as well. We regulate it. We put these dispensaries away from parks, schools, and libraries. Also, the quantity they can sell there, that we can discuss within council. How big the dispensary will be, we can talk about that also. Is it a mall size or a small? So we can regulate it, we can put some controls there, and I will be looking into those things.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your comments. We really appreciate you coming all the way from Milton and participating in this debate.
You're very, very welcome. Thanks for having
And
me.
we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
May I please request now the pleasure of Mr. Andrew Lee. He has come from Mississauga and he has been very kind. He had another engagement, but unlike our mayor, he just left that and came here. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Andrew Lee from Mississauga.
I'm an engineer. I retired from Ontario Hydro nuclear stations. For all my life, I do construction work. Positive, creative. I'm 76 years old. People ask me, why at this age you want to get into today's kind of a politics. I said, I'm 20 years younger than Hazel McCarran. This is a picture taken in 1983. I was 40 years old. Hazel was 60 years old. I was a full-time engineer, busy doing the nuclear station work. I didn't ever think I would get into politics. And there's a reason for me to jump into it. Mississauga is getting old. And I reviewed the situation of Mississauga. We are in a turning point. Let me explain slowly why. Mississauga was made of 30 villages at the time of 1976 and 3 townships. Hazel McCarran was one of the mayor of the township. When Mississauga became a city, all villages are totally destroyed except the 2, Streetsville and Port Credit. Let's think about what's good about the village and what's happened when the villages are destroyed. Village is the place where you can born, you can grow up, you can work, maybe somewhere else, and you can raise the family, and you can retire there. But the new subdivisions destroy all that. In the 1960s, when they started the city planning, all the councillors in the city of Mississauga, they forgot one thing, that the people are getting old. They will get old. For all subdivisions, there's no room for senior people to go. Single houses never let that. This is a single family house. Seniors have no place to go. There are 2 choices. You stay in the house, become an empty nest, or you sell your house. As one of the Mississauga City Council said, sell your house, go to Florida. Sell your house, go to Niagara Falls. That's inhumane. Seniors want to retire in the community. The dogs were there, doctors were there, the children were somewhere around, all your friends are in the neighborhood. We should rebuild the city of Mississauga in a group of communities similar to the villages. We have our candidates from Toronto here. We don't want to repeat what is in Toronto. And we want to set up a good example for Oakville. Mississauga will be the center of the good model city, that we have a group of communities which people can happily live there in the Middle Ages when they raise the family, and after that they will have a place to live. If I become a mayor, 20% of land development will reserve for affordable housing and senior housing, and they will be chosen the best location because senior housing should be next to the park. Single family houses should not be in the park, on the park. The reason why? I have a friend who I live by the park, but I was lucky. My house between the park has a creek. I have a friend who lived right back on the park. Guess what happened? His house was vandalized 3 times. So easy to jump in the fence and clean up everything. So I think that's the reason I want to determine the future of the city, okay, in the way that it will be a sequence of beautiful villages. I'm going to restore the villages in Mississauga. Okay, the LRT is a fate. I'm not going to against it. LRT will make Mississauga the second of Toronto. The developers will drive. The LRT will be similar like a Yangtze subway. It's a fate that Brampton will be the same as a Vaughan, and Mississauga will be the same like Toronto. I want to stop that. I will save Oakville in a way. That's all my campaign is about. I have a lot of other promises. Number 1 on the top is seniors has value. Seniors are not burden, it's assets. when we talk about the cultural dispute, religion differences, the best way is to get seniors out to represent the community, the best part of the community, to resolve all the differences. Number two, I'm a retired engineer. I don't need the mayor's salary. I will set the salary as a fund for youth to get their first job in the city. Young people, when they first graduate from school, cannot get a job because they say you have no experience. Here comes to the mayor. I'm a village elder. I'm head of the village. Come to the mayor. I will give you a training ground, so you can get a job. I don't promise. I don't like our current mayor. He said, I'm going to create jobs. Job cannot be created. I want to give you the skill so you can get job somewhere else. And I think I finished my platform. And you may ask for cannabis.
Yes, please, go ahead.
No. I'm an engineer. Everybody should be ready to do work. You think about it, you have 2 shots of cannabis. Try to climb up the top of the brand, start to work. Cannot do that. Society won't let those kind of things happen. Unless you prove cannabis has nothing wrong with it, should it not happen? I'm going to create a distinct society. I'm going to use the notwithstanding clause. Mississauga will no cannabis. That's all I want to say.
You are really using notwithstanding clause.
I'm not a Quebec class, but then you want to do the same thing.
What about taxes, Mr. Mayor?
Taxes, I will say, again, I'm an engineer. I will check every process of the budget. I will make sure. I don't promise we will cut the tax. I will freeze it. I don't do that. I will check expenditures. You have to justify to me. Like one of my city managers may say, I want to hire 20 more people. I'll go to the people work under them and say, do you think he should deserve to hire 20 more people? Are you guys doing the work? If the people in the team say, no, my boss wants to expand the kingdom. I said, here, please, tell me one thing. Do you have a choice to go somewhere else? I'm a nice guy. I'm not a tough guy. I want to do everything very reasonable. Any more questions?
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andrew. Thank you very much. Okay, and last but not the least, we have the Markham Mayor, Mr. Frank Scrapiti. We are extremely thankful to him. He had an extremely busy schedule today, but he has come over to participate in this biggest platform in Peel region, which is 770 AM. Mr. Frank, we are going to show, and along with other candidates, your full speech on Eawaz, and whatever you say, your comments and the comments of other participants, they are all going to be relayed tomorrow on radio on 770 AM.
Well, thank you very much, Shazia and Abdul, and I want to say Assalamu Alaikum, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Vanakkam. I do represent the most diverse city in all of Canada, and we celebrate that diversity in many different ways, and I'm happy to say that we've done it through some of our street names with Lahore, with Karachi, with Peshawar, and also we're going to celebrate Mumbai Drive next spring. And there's many others that reflects the diversity that we have. I'm Frank Scarpitti. I am your mayor in the city of Markham, and we have a wonderful community, and I think there's a very strong connection between the leadership that I've demonstrated, working with council, working with our staff, and obviously with the other levels of government, and the many things that we enjoy in the city of Markham. I'm very pleased to say that over the past 10 years, we've actually had the lowest tax increase in all of the GTA. When you average out the tax increases over the past decade, it's been 1.68%. That is an incredible achievement, done without cutting services. In fact, I'd argue we have exceptional services in the city of Markham, even compared to some of our immediate neighbors. We did that by finding $25.7 million of efficiencies, also finding new revenues. We've also used technology. We have over 85 online services now that you no longer have to come to the Civic Center or one of our satellite facilities. It can all be done online. In fact, I'm very pleased to say this is the 5th election that we have in the city of Markham that we've used online voting. And I do encourage you to vote. There's no excuse this time around because you can do it from your phone, your smart device, or your computer. We're also ensuring, a lot of people have been talking about infrastructure. We've also ensured that we are building our reserves. Every year we contribute towards our reserves so that we can repair and replace 25 years of assets. Many municipalities make the mistake that when a water main goes in, or a sewer goes in, or a community center gets built, that they don't start to put the money aside for when that facility, that infrastructure has to be repaired or replaced. And I'm very pleased to say that over 80% of our roads in the city of Markham are in a state of good repair. And again, that is because of our asphalt resurfacing program that we adopted many years ago that keeps the integrity of the base of the road. It doesn't let the road deteriorate so that you actually end up spending more money to repair and replace that road. In the area of mobility, I am the chair of the York Region Rapid Transit Corporation. I'm very proud of the Viva Transit system that has been installed across Highway 7. You see how beautiful Highway 7 is today in the city of Markham, and as we extend that west through the city of Vaughan, it is going to provide a rapid transit system in the south end of the region. A bus rapid transit way works as effectively as an LRT at 30% of the cost. Again, we've been very prudent in making sure that we spend your money wisely. I also pushed for all-day GO service to the city of Markham, and we finally have that, and over the next several years we're going to see an increase in the GO trains to 15 minutes and 20 minute service depending which line you're on. And I'm very pleased to say that the city of Markham is the first municipality in Ontario to adhere to the new safety guidelines, that now we've installed those safety measures and we will no longer have those horns blasting really through our community when the GO trains go through because of the safety measures that we have installed. Everyone knows that I'm a strong advocate of the Yonge Subway extension north all the way to Highway 7. I've said this before and I'm prepared to debate anyone. It is the most justifiable rapid transit investment in recent history. We have over 2,500 daily bus trips that are packed full of commuters every day riding down Yonge Street. Now, while I have supported the other investments that have happened all around us, because I think spending money on rapid transit in the right location and building the network is a good thing. However, during the provincial election, I sought out and challenged the party leaders to sign a shovel to commit to building the Yonge Subway in the next term of office. I am not going to sit by in the next 4 years and watch other transit projects take priority when we have something that's very justifiable. And I compare our ridership to some of the riderships of lines that have been built, and they weren't even close to the ridership that we have on Yonge Street. So while I've supported all those, the time has come. We've got to stop talking and we have to start building. As the mayor of Markham, quality of life is very important to me. And I'm very proud to say that I'm the only mayor in the history of Markham under my leadership, and again, working with council and our senior staff, and it is a team effort, the only mayor that's opened 3 major recreational community centers in less than a decade. The Cornell Community Center, of course our world-class Pan Am Center, and most recently, as you know, in Milliken Mills, the beautiful Ani Center, which means welcome in Ojibwe. And by the way, I think it's always appropriate to have a land acknowledgement for the Indigenous people, but to be honest with you, I'm very proud that the city of Markham is probably the only urban municipality that has a partnership with a First Nations community, the Yabatum First Nations, 300 kilometers north of Thunder Bay. And we've been able to support them with hockey equipment. The first time they fit out a girls hockey team, and we've raised over $100,000 for that community and continue many aspects to build that partnership. I also want to say that we also have worked very hard to celebrate our history in the city of Markham, and we celebrated Canada 150 like no other community. We had Markham Expo 150. We commemorate the William Bursey statue, was one of the early founders that brought up 200 individuals up through the United States to start settlements in our area. And of course, everyone now knows we have a new cenotaph in Veterans Square that commemorates those who made the ultimate sacrifice in making Canada the best country in the world. We've also planted over 285,000 trees. That's more than one tree for every resident that we have in the city of Markham. We've embarked on a multi-million-dollar program to go back into older neighborhoods and refurbish the infrastructure that was inadequate to provide proper flood protection. And now we're providing 100-year storm protection. We started in the area of Thornhill, and I know many residents there have seen that construction. In some respects have had to put up with that construction, but now they have, many areas in Thornhill have increased their flood protection through the program that we've had. I've also been a leader in fighting a proposed change to the rail system that would see more than doubling of the hazardous freight trains come through the southern part of York Region. Again, I support increased transit. I support making sure that those investments are put in the right place, but I was the one at the region and locally that brought together the municipalities through a joint submission to both the federal government and the provincial government to show them that there's no way we can double the amount of hazardous freight trains that come through Vaughan and Richmond Hill and Markham. And the provincial government, the federal government has heard that quite loudly from us. I'm also proud of the fact that we have introduced a textile recycling program. We already have one of the highest diversion rates in all of the country, and now we've collected 6 million pounds of textiles since we introduced that program. And so we've taken the textiles, the old clothes that people were putting in the waste system, we're recycling that and taking it out and becoming more environmental sustainable. So in the future, we do have a university that's coming to the city of Markham. I'm very proud of the fact that our team was able to attract a new campus for York University. We'll be breaking ground next month. That will see 1,000 students when it opens its doors in 2021, and we'll be able to grow to 4,000. I want to create a center for international talent so that disruptive technology can actually be embraced and companies can think in advance of how they need to evolve to deal with that disruptive technology. We also have a new science and technology park that will be announced shortly in the city of Markham. And just a few weeks ago, very proud to say that we had a group that is going to build a 400,000 square foot movie studio in the city of Markham. One of the studios in that facility is 70,000 square feet, which will be the largest soundstage in all of North America, perhaps even the world. I'm your mayor, Frank Scarpitti. It's our Markham. We have a lot to do. Let's do it together.
Thank you so much. Frankly, you touched base on majority of the question that I had. You pretty well did it, and I second to it because I'm a resident of Markham. You didn't talk about another hospital. Do you think that we going so fast and so large now, we need another hospital there?
Well, I don't think we need another hospital. I'm quite proud of the fact that I was the co-chair of the capital campaign. We just, a few years ago, more than doubled the size of the hospital. So if you'd asked me this question about 5 years ago, I'd say definitely we've got a lot of work to do because that original Markham Stouffville Hospital was built for a much smaller community. Now we've more than doubled the size of the hospital. We've also gone back and renovated the existing hospital, so that's been upgraded with state-of-the-art equipment. And I just want to say that I'm very proud that I was part of the committee, in fact a co-chair, that raised $60 million locally to expand that hospital. And actually, in a couple of weeks, and we'll make sure that you get notice, one of our business people in the city of Markham is making a milestone contribution, again, to further advance Markham Stouffville Hospital. Now, like anything else, I think all of us, and really it is a provincial issue, but I think all of us need to be looking at ways of how we can, again, like all infrastructure, make it more efficient, get great value for the money. And I have to say, the doctors and the nurses and the healthcare professionals at Markham Stouffville are, in my opinion, second to none. As much as I was involved in seeing the plans for Markham Stouffville, I've had family members who've had to utilize some of their services and help, and I can tell you, I just was amazed at the healthcare professionals and how much we're fortunate to have that hospital within our community. What is happening though is, and now we're seeing Mackenzie Health open another hospital in the city of Vaughan, and you have to appreciate, as regional hospitals, each of them will have certain specialties, and so that does increase capacity as well. So a particular hospital may have one specialty, another one will have something else, but fair to say that 80% of our healthcare needs are looked after by our local hospitals.
I know you talked about taxes, which directly hits my pocket.
Yes.
And, did you say that you're going to raise taxes for the next 4 years?
So what I'm proud of is our record is that we've had the lowest tax increase for the last 10 years, 1.6%. That's the average over the last 10 years. And if you're a resident of Markham, you will know that we didn't close a library, we didn't reduce services, we've opened several new parks. We have, as I said, 3 significant community centers, one being the Markham Pan Am. We've embraced technology, we formed the right partnerships to bring down costs. And I often say to people, we're government, we don't have a profit at the end of the year, but what I'm proud of our team at the City of Markham, they're very entrepreneurial, very nimble, and they act quickly. And that's with our own issues, but it's also in how we deal with business. And all you have to do is talk to Honda, who was going to go to another municipality. They came to Markham because they were able to get their applications dealt with in an efficient way. Enbridge facility, same thing. They were looking at 2 or 3 locations. They came to Markham. Huawei Technologies, major company, recently the General Motors Canadian Technical Center. Again, they come for a number of reasons, but one of the things is that we're able to deal with them. When major investment like that comes to your community, you better act quickly, because business can't wait around for regulation and for processes to stop the advancement of the investment they want to make.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor. I'm really impressed by the city itself. Yes, I see a lot of developments going on there. I come to Markham. Some very rich people also live there. So I believe your policies have attracted them as well. A lot of businesses have come in. My question to you is, in the other cities, we see a lot of deficiency of attracting foreign direct investment. How you have been able to do that? I know there's a lot of red tape, there are long procedural, difficulties. Are you working somewhat differently from the region? Are your processes quicker? How do you go about it?
So I think it starts first of all with the relationships that you build, and I think those relationships, one of the pluses, and this is what frustrates me, is when I see other communities that don't take advantage. We have welcomed people from all over the world, and that strengthens the fabric of our communities. That gives us access to markets that we never had before. So we do plan strategically certain business missions that we go on, and I never go by myself. I'll go to help facilitate, but I want to take other business people with us. Nothing says success when we're in China trying to attract investment, and 80% of our business delegation are Chinese who've come to Canada, been successful, and can tell the story. The same when we've gone to India. The makeup of our representation is mostly of the Indian diaspora that's here in Markham and throughout the GTA. There's no greater example of success when they're telling the Canadian story. So it's about the relationships that you have. I think it is about the way in which you run your municipality. And then it's also, I would say, just when opportunity knocks, you better be there. And I will say this, because many municipalities tell investors, well, we roll out the red carpet. We roll out the red carpet. Well, in Markham, we roll out the red carpet too, but what the difference is when you walk through the front door and how we become your partner to ensure that you are successful in getting your facility established.
Thank you very much. Your speech already shows us that you are going to lead the polls once again.
Well, I just want to say this, again, I take great pride. There is no excuse. It is so easy to vote online. It takes less than 10 minutes. So in the past, you know, because the elections actually used to be in November at one time, municipal elections, and people say, oh, it's too cold, it's raining, it's snowing. Then they were moved up to October, and you know, we didn't really see a big jump when it was. So now with technology, I just want the people out there to think, first of all, there are millions around the world that don't have the right to vote. And then also think about those, I mean, I talked about the Cenotaph and Veterans Square. People defended this country, people defended democracy. If we now can't just take our phone, open it up, put in the password that the city of Markham gave you, and vote in the municipal election, what's that saying about our opportunity as citizens? So I hope that everyone will vote. It takes less than 10 minutes, and it's easy as 1, 2, 3. You can do it anytime, anywhere, because it's all done across these devices. So thank you.
Like always, thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
It has been, I hope you enjoyed it. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guests were here and they spoke. And again, I'd like to thank all the guests who showed up here. And my request to you, like Frank said, you know, just go over and vote. But you must vote.
जी बिल्कुल जनाब, अपना वोट का जो हक होता है बड़ा मुकद्दस होता है, उसको प्लीज़ आप जो है उसको यूज़ करें और उन लोगों को सामने लेकर आएं, ज़ात से उठ के ऊपर उन लोगों के लिए वोट करें जो कि आपकी कम्युनिटीज़ के लिए काम कर सकते हैं और जो आपकी ज़िंदगियों में चेंज ला सकते हैं. तो प्लीज़ 22 अक्टूबर को बाहर जाइए और वोट का हक इस्तेमाल कीजिए. Thank you. I wish you all the best.